what it is. I'm Tyrus, filling in for Gutfeld, Greg. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She does crack her knuckles at work, host of Kennedy on Fox Business and Kennedy Saves the World podcast. Kennedy. He's whiter than the powder in Greg's green room. Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub. On weekends, she goes out clubbing. Seals. That is awful. No. We'll try it again. That's a gun in her pocket, and she's glad to see you. Host of Luxury Hunting Lodges of America on Fox Nation, Katie Pavlik. Her arms can be used as chopsticks. Fox News contributor, Kat Timpf. Now that I have no friends left on this panel. Okay, before we get to some stories, it's Friday, so it's time for this.
Greg's Leftovers.
And that's not the first time I've taken Greg's food out of the refrigerator, so it's all good. Yeah, it's leftovers, where I read the jokes we didn't use this week. Now, here are the rules. Just like how Greg does it, this will be my first time reading these. Here we go. On Tuesday, President Biden traveled to the U.S. Virgin Islands to enjoy some holiday downtime, which caused millions of Americans to ask, downtime from what? All right. We're off to a good start. Not surprisingly, after 3 days in the hot sun, Joe's new best friend is a volleyball named Wilson. All right. According to a new study, women outscored men on empathy tests in countries all over the world. That's only because women did the math, said your sexist uncle. No. All right. This week, Southwest canceled thousands of flights, creating a logjam of unclaimed luggage. And as a precaution, the airline says they've hired dozens of new employees to help control Sam Brinton. That was good. Because he steals luggage. That's awesome. All right. After terminating their deal with Kanye West, wait, no, that's Yee or Yee. Adidas now has $500 million of unsold shoes. But the company plans on giving the sneakers to their factory workers once they're big enough to wear them. That's one where you laugh and you really try not to. This week, comedian Bill Cosby, he's a comedian? Bill Cosby announced that he's making plans to begin touring again in 2023. Promoters say the official tagline for the tour will be, "You'll laugh until you're completely unconscious." Oh, I know why I left. I'm so canceled. All right. A woman was arrested this week in South Carolina after attacking her husband when she found dirty photos on his phone. But in his defense, he did tell his wife that he received a lot of junk mail.
I get it.
Yeah, that's why he got beat up. You gotta have a better punchline, you get caught. Blame it on your kids. I would never do that. All right. Director James Cameron announced that he edited the Avatar sequel to remove scenes of glorifying gun violence. He says he didn't want to give the idea that the most dangerous group is ex-wives. He married her? Oh yeah. Crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried is getting tips for survival if he ends up in prison. Although if he does get assaulted, one thing's for sure, it won't happen in the weight room. Because that's how Dahmer got killed. All right, never mind. All right. A recent survey found that half of Americans enjoy spending alone time hiding in their bathrooms, sometimes for hours. And for 20 bucks, Brian Kilmeade will hide in your bathroom. Why? Why do we? He's such a nice guy. A computer programmer has given people the chance to see the effects of an asteroid hitting their city using a new web app. Or as they call it in Detroit, a window. Why would you have to? This week, South Korea formally lifted a ban on imported sex dolls. Although they did keep the ban on dolls from Iraq since they can blow themselves up. There's more. In a recent interview, former First Lady Michelle Obama said she couldn't stand her husband Barack for 10 years of their marriage. Oh yeah? Try 40, said Hillary Clinton. Okay, and now some real news. Wasn't that news? He put Pinocchio to shame with his lying game. I'm not doing the rhymes. The more people inquire, the more his pants are on flames. Not rhyming. I speak of New York Republican Congressman-elect George Santos. Soon we'll find out he's actually a young blonde girl from Switzerland. I believe he's Kaiser Soze at this point. Kat, that's a movie. I know you didn't see it, but the bad guy tricked everybody.
Okay.
She doesn't watch movies. He told lies about his work history, education, religion, and come to find out, he even lied about his own mother's death. Who would lie about one's loved one's death? Santos, if that's his real name, originally said his mom died in 9/11, but she actually passed away 15 years later from cancer. He hasn't even been sworn in yet, and there are already calls for him to resign, as well as calls warning him that his car warranty is about to expire. But so far, Santos is holding firm. Even a federal prosecutor in New York is launching an investigation. The probe is in its earliest stages, but if it goes deep enough, it could uncover even more fabrications. Which, with each layer, it gets more and more disturbing, like Greg's Magic Mike audition tape. Shame he didn't get that part. Meanwhile, Democratic Congressman Richie Torres is launching the cleverly named Santos Act to punish other candidates for lying about their background. Santos Act stands for Stop Another Non-Truthful Office Seeker. Boy, that was clever. But that could backfire on government officials like these. And this person.
I have never done that. That's the truth.
We have the photo. Kat, we've all probably fluffed a resume every now and then, but I mean, is this just to lie about your mom's death?
Yeah, it wasn't even like there was a grain of truth. Like, not only did she not die in the 9/11 attacks, she didn't die like on 9/11 2016 either. It was in December. And he tweeted about that himself. Like, it wasn't like people had to go digging. They just looked for the stuff that he'd said before. I don't understand also how it took so long for all of this to happen. I don't understand. Who does this? All politicians lie. I wonder if he's ever said anything true.
Well, I guess we have to ask him
Have we
that.
found a true thing?
No. You know, Kennedy, I made the point in the joke where I showed all the politicians. Is this really that shocking?
No.
I mean, because literally what politician, Republican, Democrat, Independent, that is not pretty much based off lying?
No, Elizabeth Warren not only has her political career, but also her academic career based on a lie about a fake heritage. So, yes, there is stolen valor all over the place. That's how politicians do. You know, Richard Blumenthal, the senator, said that he was in Vietnam. No, he kind of served in the United States during Vietnam after his 5 deferments, but he was not in Vietnam. That is stolen valor.
Yeah.
This guy is obviously a pathological liar. I am so intrigued by his story, and I find it so comical that I think he's going to a perfect place. It's like
He's well suited for government.
when they go back to Madagascar. And you know, Chris Rock, the zebra's running around because he finally sees all the zebras. That's what George Santos is going to be like. He's like, finally, I'm in a chamber full of other liars.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
They'll compare lies.
But it was the thing that is so brave about him is that he ascended to office after killing Osama bin Laden. And
That's right. He was there.
he
wasn't the trigger man, but he was the guy
Hold
behind him,
here,
patting him on the
Rob
shoulder.
O'Neill.
Like,
Yeah.
shoot now. Shoot now. That was the guy. Tom, did you lie today?
I have not lied today. And but you know, I don't care about liars in Congress. I mean, they're there. That's what they do. I think he made some stupid lies though, because he was saying things like, "I went to an elite university." He's running as a Republican. We don't even like elite universities. He should have said, "I went to community college." We've been like, "I like that guy."
I was gonna say he's a welder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
and now this guy, the Democrat, wants to pass a law to say that if you lied and still got elected, we're going to hold you accountable. Isn't that our job? Like, if we don't hold you accountable for lying and we vote for you anyway, it's on us, right? And I think since we don't really believe anybody, and we got Mr. Fang Fang, who's still sitting in his congressional seat, right?
Yep.
Who's that guy? Swalwell?
Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell.
Schiff. I mean, Schiff told lies about actual political stuff. He didn't pad his resume. He told lies about people in power. And he held committee hearings, and he claimed he had evidence that he didn't have, and everybody yawned. So if you're gonna lie about the big stuff and not get held accountable, this guy's just lying about his past.
Right.
Well, it's somebody else's past.
Nobody would be
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh, his mom died of cancer. Now I'm not voting for him.
Yeah, like he already had a good story.
Why?
Well, I mean, President Joe Biden has repeatedly said that his son died in Iraq.
Yeah.
He did not die in Iraq. He died from cancer many years later. So that is also stolen valor. There seems to be this double standard about Democrats standing up and saying this horrible person who has lied about everything in his career and somehow got elected, that he should resign when all these other people in their party get to stay. It really is just an indictment on politics and the types of people who want to go to Washington, D.C.
Right.
You know, really good people don't want to go to that town. You have to force them into going because it really does suck. But what about a law against really bad opposition research? Like, isn't this the Democrats in New York's fault for thinking that they had that seat on lock, they didn't have to campaign? I mean, how is it that the opposition research team for the guy who was running against him didn't find all this stuff? I mean, a quick Google search could have saved them the seat in New York.
A Bing search could have done that. Before we go, come check out my live shows. I'll be in Jacksonville January 27th, Knoxville February 1st, Wayne, New Jersey on February 3rd, plus many more cities. For tickets, click on my link tree or my Instagram and Twitter pages. The only one Jacksonville is on Ticketmaster.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.